Welcome back. Protests are flaring up in and around Durban as communities demand the restoration of services and housing following the floods. Communities have been struggling to rebuild since July's unrest. Now, infrastructure damage caused by the floods has further impacted the delivery of services. eNCA senior reporter Dasen Thathiah is in Durban and joins us now. Good morning, Dasen. I can see there you've got a bit of police presence. What are people saying today?
Well, there is that issue that we were talking about yesterday, particularly where there is a sense that communities want to get the answers that they feel that they deserve. They felt that communication was a bit of a problem. But while we are here today in Nanda, there's a slightly different focus. It's a year on since the July unrest, and this is where the various departments have taken the opportunity to try to unify the different communities, particularly the Indian and African communities, after what we saw transpire last year. So here you'll see on this sports field behind me, you've got some kids from various schools. I'm told there are about 8 schools that are involved in this program today, and they'll be shortly engaging in some sporting activities. And this is a very important conversation to have here, considering what we saw last year. I'm now joined by the MEC for Education, Kwazi Mshengu. Mr. Mshengu, thank you so much for joining me. I was remarking to my colleague in Kanyiso off camera that a year ago we would not have known what was to come in the following weeks. And apart from the violence and destruction, the relationship between the Indian and African communities was tainted because, as you put it, because of a group of criminals. This, I guess, will go some way towards rebuilding that, but is it enough?
Well, it may not be enough, but it's a good start in our view. As you are correctly saying that the unfortunate incidents of the 21 July unrest basically took us far back in terms of building social cohesion as South African, as a country. So after that, the provincial executive reflected on the matter and decided that different departments must have activities in the affected areas, but with the intention of rolling them out across the province as part of building blocks towards a society that is free of racial attitude. And as Department of Education, there are 2 advantages that we have. One is that we are presiding over a very young population. And these young people, unless really they are indoctrinated by their parents, they are sort of insulated from racial attitude. As President Mandela once said, there is no one that is born with racism or racial attitude. So these are young people which we want to use as a foundation, as a basis to really build a truly non-racial society. And we are hoping that in the next generation, in fact this generation, when they grow up, they should be a generation that at least is free of racial attitude compared to us as well as our parents. That is why we're trying by all means to keep them together in school, but also through sports, because if there's one thing that unites South African is sport, and we're deciding to use sport as Department of Education to really foster social cohesion amongst the young ones.
MEC, shouldn't we be concerned that we still, in this year, still have these predominantly African schools and predominantly Indian schools, as we've labelled them? I mean, is it just a pipe dream to think that that we shouldn't have that right now, or is it the unfortunate side effects of where we come from?
It's part of the historical injustices, and obviously it will take time to do away with such schools. It is a desired South Africa where there is no school that will be referred as a predominantly African and predominantly Indian, or even white for that matter. But it speaks to the skewed opportunities that accrue to different races during the apartheid era. You will know that in terms of the hierarchy of disadvantage, whites were protected by the apartheid system. Then we'll have Indians, then we'll have colors as well as Africans at the lower levels. So it also spoke to the opportunities, because the reality is that 20 years into democracy, yes, there are many things that we have achieved in transforming the education system, but quality education is still, by and large, associated with better opportunities, with better social conditions or socio-economic conditions. The more your parents can afford, the better their children can afford better education. That is why you will even have people who can afford from Inanda sending their kids to study in Phoenix, because they believe that in Phoenix there are better schools compared to Inanda. And those are the things that we need to confront and defeat head on as government, so that all kids, irrespective of where they come from, they get better opportunities.
MEC, let me wrap here. I mean, beyond just this game, because as you said, it's a start, but it's definitely not the end. Beyond this and what we see here today, what are you doing briefly as the department to ensure that this gains momentum beyond just this one program?
We're going to roll this program throughout the 11 districts in KZN. From here, we're going to go to Pietermaritzburg and plan other for other districts. But we're hoping that, and we're going to make sure that it doesn't only relate to the incidents of July 2021, but we really use it throughout, even beyond our term of office, but use schools, use sport as a basis to build a proper social cohesion in the province of KwaZulu-Natal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mshengu. Appreciate it. That's the word from the Education MEC, and as he said, there it is a start. So this will be the program for today, and it will be a day of games for the kids from these schools, and they've also taken a pledge to ensure that they strive for a non-racial society going forward.